Elara steps out of the heavy lounge doors and into the crisp, freezing night air. She instinctively pulls the thick lapels of Roman's oversized navy suit jacket tighter around her shoulders. The vintage red wine making her sway just a fraction of an inch.
The temperature drop out here is absolutely hostile. It is a very good thing I confiscated your jacket when I did.
Roman moves with a controlled, deliberate grace as he steps out right beside her, completely unbothered by the chill in just his dress shirt. A warm, highly entertained smirk spreads across his face as he watches her adjust to the cold.
I am glad my tailoring is being put to good use. Are you ready to head out?
She flashes a bright, lazy smile, fully embracing her tipsy buzz. She lifts her chin and takes her very first confident step down the illuminated pavement toward her apartment.
I am. Just try to keep a steady pace. I am officially placing this transit entirely in the hands of my personal escort.
A low, effortless laugh rumbles in his chest as he seamlessly falls into step right beside her.
I will make sure you arrive perfectly intact. Lead the way.
Elara focuses intensely on placing one classic dark high heel directly in front of the other. Her usual flawless stride entirely replaced by a highly deliberate and slightly overcompensated rhythm.
I'm establishing a very strict trajectory here. You just need to make sure you keep up with my pace.
She leans significantly heavier into her arm than she actually realizes. A bright, lazy smile taking over her flushed features as she sways just a fraction into his side.
It takes a massive amount of focus to operate at this altitude, especially after 4 full rounds of red wine.
Roman effortlessly absorbs her shifting weight, his athletic frame providing an unshakable, grounded anchor as they navigate the chilled pavement.
You are doing an incredible job maintaining the altitude.
A low, rich chuckle rumbles in his chest as he looks down at her, his steady focus entirely warmed by her unshielded, uninhibited energy.
But just for the official record, you are currently leaning almost all of your weight directly against my arm. I am perfectly happy to carry it, but you are definitely drifting out of your lane.
She lets out a bright, uninhibited scoff, entirely failing to correct her posture as she continues to cling heavily to his arm. She tilts her head, breaking into a lazy, defiant smirk as she attempts to justify her lack of balance.
That is surely an overcalculation. I am simply drafting behind you to avoid the chilly wind. It is a highly efficient transit strategy.
Roman shakes his head. A rich, quiet laugh rolls through his chest as he effortlessly absorbs her swaying momentum. He looks down at her, his steady focus shifting into a warm but highly sarcastic smirk as he completely dismantles her tipsy excuse.
Drafting, that is a very creative way to say you are entirely relying on my center of gravity to stay upright. If you draft any harder to the left, I am going to have to carry you just to keep you out of the street.
She lets out a highly entertained gasp of mock offense at the threat of being carried, breaking into a fierce, defiant smirk.
I am perfectly capable of walking my own lane, and I definitely do not need to be hauled down the pavement like some kind of compromised cargo.
She attempts to step slightly away from his side to prove her independence, but a sudden gust of the chilled night wind forces her to sway right back into his solid, athletic frame.
The wind resistance tonight is simply unmanageable. I am officially staying right here in the slipstream until the climate regulates.
Roman absorbs weight easily, a deep, knowing chuckle rumbling in his chest at her magnificent, stubborn refusal to admit the red wine is affecting her balance.
The wind resistance? Right. I am sure the weather is entirely responsible for your sudden lack of coordination.
He pulls her just a fraction tighter against his side, perfectly willing to act as her permanent windbreak, while thoroughly enjoying her uninhibited state.
But just in case a sudden gust tries to push you into traffic again, I highly suggest you keep drafting exactly where you are.
Elara nods in smug agreement, perfectly content to stay in his slipstream. until her classic dark high heel catches on a nearly invisible seam in the pavement, causing her to stumble just a fraction.
You see, that right there is exactly what I am talking about. The structural integrity of this sidewalk is an absolute disaster.
Roman effortlessly absorbs her sudden shift in momentum, acting as an unshakable anchor, a deep, rich laugh rumbling in his chest at her magnificent, highly professional deflection.
Whoever poured this concrete made it entirely uneven. I guarantee the city planners completely bypassed the grading requirements. It is a blatant hazard to innocent pedestrians.
A blatant hazard. Sure, okay. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with the 4 rounds of vintage red wine catching up to your equilibrium.
She grips his arm significantly tighter to quickly stabilize her foundation, pointing an accusing finger down at the completely flat concrete with a fiercely offended, tipsy glare.
He pulls her even closer against his side, thoroughly enjoying her uninhibited state as his steady focus dances with a warm, highly entertained smirk.
I am absolutely certain the city architects are entirely to blame, but just in case the grading gets any more treacherous, I am officially placing you under my direct supervision until we reach your door.
Roman lets out a rich laugh, keeping her securely tucked against his side as he watches her carefully navigate another treacherous seam in the pavement.
I am giving this exact route about 1 more block, and if the city planners keep failing us, I am just going to sling you over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes and carry you the rest of the way.
Elara gasps in mock horror, instinctively planting her classic dark high heels and looking up at him with a flushed, fiercely defiant glare.
You will do absolutely no such thing. There's zero need for that level of drastic intervention.
He doesn't even pause his steady stride, easily absorbing her sudden halt as a highly entertained, dangerous smirk breaks across his face.
It isn't an intervention, it is simply a highly efficient transit strategy to completely bypass the hazardous concrete.
She grips his arm even tighter to force him to match her deliberate pace, using her tipsy, plain talk banter to fiercely protect her professional dignity.
Throwing me over your shoulder is a violation of my personal code of ethics. A master architect is never transported down the street like a sack of potatoes. I am perfectly capable of walking.
Elara drops her pointing finger and takes a fiercely confident step forward to prove her independence. But her classic dark high heel catches violently on a deep crack in the pavement. Her balance completely shatters as she pitches forward.
Whoa!
Roman reacts with blinding speed, entirely abandoning the banter as his strong arms sweep out to catch her. She crashes heavily and completely into his solid chest, her hands desperately grabbing fistfuls of his dress shirt to anchor herself.
I've got you.
The cooling night air instantly vanishes against his radiating heat. She freezes in his secure hold, her flushed face hovering mere inches from his jaw as her tipsy confidence gives way to a breathless, intensely close encounter.
That was a massive structural failure in the concrete. It came completely out of nowhere.
He makes absolutely no move to let her go, his arms remaining wrapped securely around her waist to hold her flush against him. He looks down into her wide, captivated eyes, his steady focus burning with a quiet, dangerous heat, as a knowing smirk breaks across his face.
Another massive structural failure, since the architecture is clearly this hostile. I am officially keeping my arms exactly where they are.
Elara remains perfectly still against his solid chest, completely abandoning any instinct to step back. She looks up into his eyes, her breathing catching just a fraction as she accepts the incredibly intimate proximity.
Keeping your arms exactly where they are is probably the safest logistical decision, considering how hostile this specific block seems to be.
His steady focus darkens with a quiet, undeniable heat. He doesn't loosen his grip a single millimeter, his hands resting securely at her waist as he absorbs the heavy, palpable tension of their shared space.
Highly hostile. It is a very good thing I was walking so close, otherwise, that structural failure could have been a complete disaster.
She tilts her chin up just a fraction, her hands still resting flat against the crisp fabric of his dress shirt. A slow, incredibly daring smirk breaks across her pristine features as she leans fully into the tipsy confession.
It could have been. Or maybe I just completely fabricated the hazard. Maybe I slipped on purpose just to see exactly how fast your reflexes actually are.
A rumble of amusement vibrates deep in his chest, directly beneath her hands. He looks down at her, a highly dangerous knowing smirk spreading across his face as he flawlessly accepts her bold tease.
Fabricated the hazard? Interesting. Well, if that was just a reflex test, I highly suggest you keep testing me, because I am definitely not letting you go anytime soon.
Roman holds her perfectly flush against his chest for one more long, heavy heartbeat. A quiet, undeniable heat burns in his steady focus before he slowly shifts his hold, wrapping his arm warmly and securely around her shoulders to guide her. He leans down, pressing a soft, lingering kiss directly to her forehead before deliberately slowing their forward momentum.
If you are going to keep throwing intentional hazards into the route, I am officially reducing our speed. We are taking the rest of this transit at a highly regulated pace.
Elara lets out a quiet, breathy laugh, completely unbothered by the new speed limit. The unexpected chivalrous sweetness of the forehead kiss sends a warm, grounding shiver down her spine. She leans her head comfortably against his shoulder as they resume their walk, her pristine, flawless features breaking into a lazy smile as she entirely accepts the slower trajectory.
A regulated pace is probably the most responsible decision you have made all night. It gives me significantly more time to properly evaluate your performance as a retaining wall.
A deep, effortless chuckle rumbles in his chest. He keeps her tucked tightly against his side, flawlessly absorbing her tipsy weight and perfectly content to drag out the walk for as long as humanly possible.
Take all the time you need for the evaluation. I am not in any rush to get you back to your door.
She tilts her chin up just a fraction, her dark high heels stepping in perfect synchronization with his newly established, unhurried rhythm. She tightens her grip on his lapel, thoroughly enjoying the highly protective, intimate transit.
Good. Because if you start rushing me now, I might just have to fabricate another massive failure in the concrete.
Roman maintains their slow, highly regulated pace down the dimly lit sidewalk, perfectly content to keep her tucked securely against his side as he decides to secure his next investment.
Since we are officially taking this transit at a crawl, I figured this would be the perfect time to formally invite you over to my place for dinner tomorrow night.
Elara tilts her head to look up at him, her pristine, unflushed features breaking into a highly entertained, lazy smile as she completely accepts the bold advance.
A formal invitation to your place. That is a fairly massive escalation, but I suppose I can accept the transition. What exactly is the dress code, and what do you need me to bring?
A low, rich chuckle rumbles in his chest. He deliberately keeps the details of the menu a complete secret, thoroughly enjoying the opportunity to tease her about her current flawless presentation.
You don't need to bring a single thing. I am handling absolutely everything. As for the dress code, I am requesting strict business attire. Basically, exactly what you are wearing right now is perfect, though I highly suggest you put on a fresh set of it for tomorrow.
She narrows her dark eyes with a playful, tipsy scrutiny, entirely comfortable leaning her weight against his solid frame as the chill of the nighttime air swirls around them.
Strict business attire for a Saturday night. Okay, well, you should know my corporate culinary standards are incredibly high. If this highly exclusive menu doesn't pass the inspection, I am officially revoking your status as my retaining wall.
Roman lets out a loud, effortless laugh that echoes down the chilly, dimly lit sidewalk, thoroughly enjoying her strict corporate warning.
I sincerely hope those high standards are prepared for an absolute masterpiece, because I am officially serving the finest peanut butter and jelly sandwiches the city has to offer.
Elara bursts into a bright, uninhibited laugh, her pristine, unflushed features radiating pure, tipsy entertainment at the sheer absurdity of the menu.
Peanut butter and jelly for a Saturday night dinner. You really spared absolutely no expense for this highly exclusive evening.
He keeps her tucked securely against his side, his athletic frame moving with a relaxed, confident grace as he leans right back into his ridiculous culinary threat to lower the bar even further.
It actually gets better because I am skipping the fine china completely and serving this gourmet experience exclusively on heavy-duty paper plates.
She playfully bumps her shoulder against his arm, entirely charmed by his unpretentious joke as she gracefully establishes her final, non-negotiable demand.
Heavy-duty paper plates? Right. Well, considering your excellent performance as a retaining wall tonight, I suppose I can accept that. As long as you cut the crusts off, I will officially consider it a 5-star meal.
Roman shakes his head with a loud, echoing laugh, thoroughly entertained by her strict culinary demands as they continue their slow pace down the dimly lit sidewalk.
Cutting the crusts off, that is a highly demanding level of maintenance.
He keeps her tucked securely against his side as he seamlessly lowers the bar for his living situation even further.
In my cardboard box for a home, we definitely don't waste food. The homeless guys out front of my door will get highly offended.
She bursts into another bright, uninhibited laugh, radiating pure amusement at the sheer absurdity of the visual.
A cardboard box? Yeah, okay.
She looks up at him with a fierce, lazy smirk as she flawlessly calls out his blatant lie.
You analyze high net worth portfolios for a living. I am fairly certain your cardboard box is a massive penthouse with a significantly better view than mine.
A sudden, biting gust of wind sweeps down the dimly lit sidewalk, cutting sharply through the nighttime air. Roman reacts instantly, his athletic frame shifting as he pulls her even tighter against his side to physically shield her from the sudden chill.
I know you already have my jacket, but that wind is absolutely brutal. Come here.
Elara lets out a soft, yielding breath, completely abandoning any instinct to maintain her own balance as she melts entirely into his solid frame. She tucks herself securely against his chest, finding the intimate, protective hold incredibly grounding despite the cold.
I am officially classifying you as a dual-purpose asset. You are an excellent retaining wall and a surprisingly effective space heater.
A low, rich chuckle vibrates deep in his chest, directly against her shoulder. He wraps his arm firmly and securely around her, entirely dominating the shared space to ensure the freezing air doesn't even touch her.
A high-end space heater. I will gladly add that to the resume. I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure my favorite investment doesn't freeze before we actually reach your door.
She tilts her head up to look at him, a soft, genuinely vulnerable smile breaking through her tipsy amusement. The freezing temperature of the city street completely fails to penetrate the absolute safety of his heavy hold.
Well, considering how flawlessly your heating mechanics are performing right now, I suppose I can authorize this level of extreme proximity for the remainder of the transit.
Elara lets the playful banter completely fade into the chilly night air, entirely comfortable just resting her weight against his solid frame.
I spend so much time trying to be tough, constantly keeping everyone at a safe distance.
She closes her eyes for a brief second, abandoning the need for any witty comeback as she simply embraces the quiet reality of his protection.
But honestly, just being held like this, it feels incredibly good.
Roman absorbs the raw, unshielded admission.
You don't always have to be tough when you are with me.
He doesn't pull her any closer or change his firm grip, perfectly content to just maintain the secure, sheltering hold they have already established.
I am just really glad you feel safe enough to actually let me hold you. I'm not in any hurry to let go.
Elara lets out a soft, appreciative breath, deeply warmed by the quiet sincerity of his admission, before she finally decides to break the heavy stillness.
As much as I appreciate the premium heating mechanics,
She shifts her weight to resume their slow transit down the sidewalk, flashing a lazy, teasing smirk to deliberately lighten the emotional depth.
If we just stand here all night, I am officially going to classify this escort service as a massive downgrade.
Roman lets out a loud, effortless laugh in the crisp night air, seamlessly matching her shift in momentum as they start walking again.
A massive downgrade.
He keeps her tucked securely against his side, turning his head to look down at her with a highly entertained, mocking smirk as he playfully weaponizes the insult.
Well, in that case, if the escort is really that bad, maybe throwing you over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes is a lot more in line with what a lowly financial advisor would settle for doing.
Elara bursts into a bright, completely uninhibited laugh, the sound echoing beautifully in the crisp night air.
Don't you dare. I completely take it back.
She grips him just a little tighter to maintain her balance as she effortlessly backpedals.
You are a highly exceptional escort. And considering we are basically right in front of my building now, the sack of potatoes threat is officially expired. You just have to walk me up the steps.
Roman lets out a rich, effortless chuckle, deeply satisfied by her quick, playful surrender.
An exceptional escort, I will gladly take the promotion.
He slows his relaxed stride as they finally reach the base of the elegant stone staircase, keeping his protective hold entirely intact as they come to a halt.
The potato threat is officially suspended for now, but I am definitely keeping it on reserve for the next time you decide to critique my services.
Roman steps slightly ahead to the first stone step, firmly and chivalrously lifting her hand to offer a steady, elevated anchor so she can safely navigate the stairs in her heels.
I have to admit, I was expecting a really nice place.
He pauses as she steps up beside him, his steady gaze sweeping upward to genuinely admire the stunningly restored historic stone facade, seamlessly integrated with modern glass.
But this building is genuinely stunning. Classic stone perfectly blended with all that modern glass. You definitely didn't cut any corners when you picked out your home.
Elara lets out a soft laugh, completely surrendering to his chivalrous support as she gracefully reaches the top landing.
What can I say? I am a very well-paid consultant.
She turns back to face him as he remains standing just a step below her, her eyes dancing with a lazy, unguarded pride as she accepts the compliment without a single ounce of false modesty.
It would be completely hypocritical of me to live in a building with a subpar foundation or an ugly facade. But thank you. I happen to think it is pretty flawless, too.
Roman chuckles as they linger on the elegant stone landing, keeping his chivalrous protective grip on her hand.
I have to admit, this is significantly nicer than my cardboard box.
He looks down at her flushed face with a highly entertained, self-deprecating smirk, flawlessly expanding on the ridiculous narrative of his neighborhood to keep the banter rolling.
If we were walking up to my place right now, we would have already had to dodge at least 3 or 4 bums sleeping right around my building.
Elara bursts into a bright, completely uninhibited laugh, her pristine, unflushed features radiating pure amusement at the sheer absurdity of the visual.
Dodging bums around the building? You are a bad liar.
She playfully squeezes the hand that is still securely anchoring hers, looking up at him with a fierce, lazy smirk as she effortlessly calls out his lie.
I am sure your cardboard box is a massive penthouse with significantly better security than mine.
Roman's laugh vibrates in the crisp night air as he completely concedes the point to her sharp logic.
All right, you caught me. I suppose the cardboard box might actually be a penthouse.
He keeps his protective grip on her hand, his thumb gently sweeping across her knuckles as he smoothly dictates the logistics for their Saturday evening.
I will text you tomorrow morning with the exact address, and I will let you know exactly what time the drawbridge lowers.
Elara lets out a soft, yielding breath, the quiet intimacy of the stone landing making it entirely impossible to hide her genuine anticipation.
I will keep my phone nearby.
She leaves her hand securely anchored in his, looking up at his broad frame with a bright, unguarded smile as she fully accepts the terms of the date.
Send me the address tomorrow. Just make sure you are fully stocked on those heavy-duty paper plates.
Roman lets out a quiet, incredibly warm laugh, completely charmed by her stubborn commitment to the paper plate joke.
Heavy-duty paper plates are absolutely guaranteed. I wouldn't dare risk failing the inspection before you even arrive.
He takes a slow, grounding breath, deliberately maintaining his respectful distance as he gently lifts the hand he is already holding, pressing a soft, entirely chivalrous kiss directly to the top of her knuckles.
Thank you for an absolutely unforgettable evening. I really hope you had a good time tonight because I genuinely cannot wait to see you tomorrow.
Elara's breath catches softly at the breathtakingly gentle contact of his lips against her skin. The pure, unhurried chivalry of the gesture completely melting her remaining defenses.
I actually had an incredibly good time.
She gives his fingers one final, affectionate squeeze before allowing their hands to slowly slide apart, flashing a radiant, entirely unshielded smile as she steps backward toward her heavy front door.
Good night, Roman. I will be waiting for your text in the morning.